timeout on Radio Biafra, bringing new faithful across the United Kingdom, enticing analysis by the previous parliament, our hangover effects the topic of the week, and listeners interact.
Article featuring Biafran history, education, awareness, and enlightenment, plus entertainment galore.
Tune in to the UK timeout on Radio Biafra. Sundays from 7:30 p.m. Biafran time and British Summer Time. Set out for a fabulous week ahead with the UK timeout on Radio Biafra. News, views, previews, and reviews. Join us.
Good evening from here. Good morning, good afternoon, good night, where you are. Welcome to the UK Timeout on Radio Biafra. I'm your host, Ikechukwu Naizimokoro Ichie Machinemere. Ichie Machinemere serves the indigenous people of Biafra in the capacity of the IPOB United Kingdom National Coordinator. I hail from Onitsha, Ezinite, Owerri Province in Biafra land. We start our program this Palm Sunday with a word of prayer in Igbo, the language of heaven. Chukwuka Biama Purumi Yini Nekekere Ụwa, onye anyị na-akpụ isi ala nye, onye na-ekere ihe niile na-enwe onye kere ya na. Anyị nwere ndị kere na oyiyi gị agbakọkwa ọzọ n'ụbọchị taa inye gị ekele pụrụ iche. Ọ bụrụ na ọnụ anyị niile bụrụ sọọsọ gị eji eme ekele zunu, ọ bụkwa na ahụ anyị niile bụrụ naanị ọnụ iji nye ya bụ ekelekwa onweghị ebe o ruru, kama eze ebube nabata nke anyị nwere anyị ihe taa. Nwere anyị ebere gbaghara adịghị ike anyị, gbaghara mmehie anyị na ajọ echiche anyị na ajọ omume anyị dị iche iche nke na-akpa oke ebe anyị na gị nọ, ma nabata anyị ka ụmụ gị. Nyere anyị amara, nye anyị ngọzi gị pụrụ iche, nye anyị udo, nye anyị ịhụnanya, nye anyị eziokwu, nye anyị ike na ume nke iji were ọrụ nke kpara ma were nyekwa anyị eziokwu ka anyị were na-ekwupụta okwu gị na-atụghị egwu ma nwekwa olileanya na mbọ na ọrụ anyị niile nke anyị na-arụ na anyị ga-eketa oke ọma n'ụwa na n'alaeze gị kwa. Eze ayọ gị taa ụbọchị afọ nke pụrụ iche ka afọ fọpụtara anyị ihe ọma niile dị iche iche nke anyị na-ayọ gị. Ebe ọbụla ha zụrụ afọ gaa fọpụta ha ka ha rụrụ anyị aka ka ọnwa anyị wee zuo oke. Afụfọ pụtara anyị nwa anyị nwoke onye mbụ anyị Maazị Nnamdi Kanu, fọpụta ya n'aka ndị iro ndị ọjọọ ndị nke na-akpagbu ya n'iji ya na-akpagbu ụmụ Biafra. Fọpụtakwa ụmụ Biafra niile ndị dị iche iche dịka afọpụtara mmadụ 12 ndị nke ejiri emetere kemgbe afọ 12. Ịfọpụtara ha n'ime izu ụka. Ekele dịrị gị nna. Onye ndị anyị Maazị Nnamdi Kanu ekwugo na a ga-afọpụta ya n'ike gị na ebube gị n'ime ọnwa a. Taa bụ ụbọchị afọ afọpụtara anyị ya ka ọnwa anyị wee bawanye ụba karịa ka ọ dị. Afọpụtakwara anyị ihe ọma niile nke anyị na-ayọ gị n'isi ụmụ Biafra niile ebe ọbụla ha na-anọ, na kachasị ndị IPOB, ndị isi anyị Maazị Chike Dozie na ndị otu ya na Directorate of State na ndị na-agba mbọ na-aga ozi n'eziokwu na ịhụnanya na nkwụwa aka ọtọ na anyị na-eme. afọfọpụtakwa nna anyị Biafra nke kacha anyị mkpa ihe dị anyị mkpa ozi Chineke ọ dị anyị mkpa n'obi anyị nyere anyị ya onye nwaanyị ha na-arịọ gị anyị mana ị ga-emezu ya otuto niile wee bụrụ nke gị ụwa niile wee kpọọ isi ala nye gị n'ihi na ị kwesịrị onwe onye dị ka gị arịọ ndị ihe nke a na ihe ndị ọzọ niile nke mma kwupụtacha ahụ n'ihi na oge adịghị site n'aha nwa gị nwoke ihe nke m kwenyere na ya Yeshua HaMashiach ise ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngakpụ isi ala nyarụzi ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngabụ nwa nke Chineke mgbe Chukwu nye gị ndụ ga-echefu nkwekwere ya mgbe Chukwu nye gị ndụ ga-echefu nkwekwere ya cheta nkwekwere ya ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngakpụ isi ala nyarụzi ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngabụ nwa nke Chineke Chukwu nyere gị ndụ ga-echefu nkwekwere ya Chukwu nyere gị ndụ ga-echefu nkwekwere ya cheta nkwekwere ya Yes, that song is very emotional to me. And it relates very much to our topic of this week, which is oath-taking atonement, very necessary too for reconciliation, redemption, and salvation. For us to get what we are asking from Chukwukadama, we need to be faithful in our oath of allegiance to worship Him, to adore Him in truth and in spirit all the days of our lives. Sometimes, and often should I say, we make pledges, promises, take oaths to Chukwukadama himself, Elohim, Elroy, El Shaddai, and within a twinkle we renege. We promise when we are in danger, in peril, the world Biafra in the contraction called Zoom, that we will be faithful, we will be honest, we will be a true witness to Him. But when the Janjaweed come with their temptation, with the pot of porridge, with bribe, with corruption, with evil, with sin, we fall aside like a pack of cards, even worse than that. Very awful. Very sad indeed. But may the grace of Chukwukadama be with us, help us to remain strong, remain resolute, and be faithful and truthful in all we think, all we talk, and all we do. So I'll take that verse one more time before we kickstart today's program. Ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngakpụ isi ala nyarụzi ọ bụrụ na mmadụ ndụ ngabụ nwa nke Chineke mgbe Chukwu nyere gị ndụ echefukwala nkwekwere ya mgbe Chukwu nyere gị ndụ echefukwala nkwekwere ya cheta nkwekwere ya. Coming up is the news base. Then we go into the topic of the day with my panelists here in the studios with me. Stay tuned.
As the war of extermination of Biafra is going on, many made a pledge. We shall never ever become Nigeria. We shall never ever become Nigeria. Today you turn on our preaching on. Nigeria. Today you turn on our preaching on. Nigeria.
Welcome to this week's news bit. I am Wada Ogichukwu with Mazi CJ. Good evening. UK will hold an enlarged cabinet meeting tomorrow, Monday, April 14th. IPOB UK National Coordinator Chief Ikechukwu stated that the April cabinet meeting, which follows an in-general meeting on Good Friday night, will feature some newly nominated deputy regional coordinators and national officers. Heads of IPOB Community Engagement and Mobilization, the Security and Welfare, as well as fundraising and marketing team, would equally be in attendance. The meeting will set the pace for both the national organizing team and the local organizing team for the 2025 IPOB UK AGM and European Mega Evangelism to go to work with greater zeal and zest. The UK National Coordinator has encouraged all regional and zonal coordinators to ensure their members attend this Good Friday crucial in-general meeting, pointing out that all need to be involved in upcoming events. Chief Luku also has reminded all and sundry that the extended deadline for the IPOB UK first quarter ESN fundraising is the same Good Friday, April 18th, 2025. All contributions, including redemption of any pledges made in this period, should be paid into the IPOB UK national account.
Good evening. I'm Mazi CJ. A new Biafra national coordinator has been appointed. Mazi Geje Okoramari Williams was announced in an appointment memo signed and released yesterday by the IPOB Head of Directorate of States, Mazi Chikiduzin. Mazi Geje, who replaces the slain Mazi Kechukwu Uboha, will be deputized by Mazi Philip Esemono. IPOB UK family wishes the new leaders of our homeland nation every success, safety and security, praying that Chukwu Okike Abiyama continue to grant the soul of Mazi Kechukwu Uboha, who was gruesomely murdered by the wicked zoo government agent through the heinous Nakina sword. Eternal bliss where Mazi Kechukwu gallant spirits continue to haunt his killer, where fighting returns until Biafra is fully restored. He said, the vote letters appointment memo also confirmed Mazi Dr. Chiwendu Okadibo as the Chief Press Secretary to the Directorate of State. IPOB UK again wishes Dr. Okadibo all the best in his new assignments. IPOB UK National Coordinator Chief Ikechukwu has highlighted the need to have more competent and credible hands on deck in the task of restoring our original nationality, pointing out that this vision drives the nation of our 2025 transformation agenda, which entails cabinet and principal officer reshuffle. IPOB this last week issued a press statement addressing Biafrans youths to shun the advances of the Janjaweed-infested zoo military to join any of the forces, as such is a highway to Elbert. In an uncharacteristic, bizarre move, Nigeria Army delegation is said to have been dispatched to Enugu to beg Igbo youths to join the zoo military, crying over a mass rejection by Biafran's youths. The Janjaweed zoo military says their recruitment applications forms are free in a desperate bid to move Biafran's youths.
In an exclusive chat with the UK Time Out host and the IPUK National Coordinator this past Friday, a reliable source who has requested anonymity has disclosed that only Nnamdi Kanu did not make an alleged statement that he will be released this month of April 2025, contrary to the widespread media report last week. IPOB UK Time Out host gathered that it was an insinuation of one of Renewal's most recent visitors to the DSS dungeon, a prominent Igbo politician who perhaps wanted to use Ohamadike's name for social, economic and political patronage. We shall reveal those nefarious fellows his identity in due course. 12 Ezigbo Ụmụ Chineke who have been held in illegal incarceration for 12 years now regained their freedom last Wednesday when they won a landmark victory in an Ebonyi State High Court sitting in Abakaliki. The IPOB lead counsel, Barrister Ifeanyi Ejiofor, and his associates have been championing the pro bono legal battle for the release of the 12 IPOB family members. In Rivers State, 4 persons were previously arraigned for an alleged arson on Rivers State House of Assembly complex in October 2023. They were allegedly pressured to alter their statements to implicate the suspended Governor Sim Fubara. One of the 4 accused, one Ezabalike, told news reporters that they were contacted on April 7th by a popular PDP leader in Obio Akbo to change the narrative, claiming that they were tortured, denied access to legal representation, and coerced to make and sign.
The Plateau State Governor Caleb Mofwang has raised alarm over worsening security situation in the state, revealing that at least 64 communities have been taken over by the Fulani Elders terrorists and jihadist bandits. The criminal activities and violence orchestrated by fundamentalist expansion have reignited national concern over the persistent insecurity plaguing the northern central region. The former sports minister Solomon Dalong is knocking the federal government over fresh Plateau crisis to the acts of terrorism and genocide rather than subtle rebranding and marking a barbaric criminal act as a former-headed crisis. He argued that mislabeling violent attacks as an ethnic or communal conflict downplays the severity of the crisis and the intent behind them. His comments came in response to a recent wave attacks in parts of Plateau State, killing of over 10 people on Wednesday night. By Saturday, the death toll rose to 52. The latest massacre occurred barely a week after another attack in a neighboring community. In addition, a former military administrator of Plateau State, retired Rear Admiral Bitrus Atikun, has called on the federal government to declare the Fulani Elders attacking communities in the state as terrorists. He said the target of the actions is to keep the citizenry under perpetual poverty. Meanwhile, in Lagos State, the youths defied the police warning not to stage protests in Lagos and Oyo states, respectively. Last Monday, April 7th, under the banner of Take It Back movements, the protesters wore their signature orange berets to rally at the Ikeja under bridge, marching through major roads while chanting solidarity songs under the watchful eyes of Nigerian police officers. Some of the robbers of kiosks, angry youths, want reprisal attack over the killings of 2 brothers by the mob in the Katsina state, setting several houses ablaze. The attack was suspected to be a retaliation for the killings of 2 brothers, Gaddafi Isa and Badamasi Isa, by a mob from Takudu village over alleged livestock theft. The Edo State Police Commander yesterday said they have arrested 4 northern hunters from Kano State with dangerous rifles, arms and ammunition.
The Nigerian Broadcasting Corporation has banned media houses from airing renowned activists and vocal critic of bad governance, Idris Abdulkarim, the song titled Say Tell Your Papa. This is a demonstration of the continuous restriction of freedom of speech, censorship and criticism. The song by Idris is a song of factual criticism of the present administration, which comes as a response to Sani Tinubu's false claim of his father's achievement in a recent comment in Adamawa State, where he described his father as the greatest president in Nigerian history. Idris last Friday
claimed he was offered close to ₦1 billion and other luxury incentives as bribe not to release his latest track, which has become a hit and an internet sensation. In a separate development, statistics from a recent workshop has exposed that in the last few years, there has been marked exodus of over 16,000 Nigerian doctors who had left the country in pursuit of better opportunities abroad. This japa phenomenon is a growing crisis that is severely affecting Nigeria's health system due to a large number of medical doctors and allied care professionals embracing the trend in search for improved working conditions, economic prospects, access to advanced training, and better research environments. Meanwhile, Nigerian government has significantly extended the external debt services obligations to $1 billion from the fourth quarter of 2024. Data released by the Debt Management Office (DMO) Nairametrics reports. This marks a notable increase from the previous quarter, highlighting the growing pressure on the country's debt profile. Earlier reports from the DMO indicated that Nigeria's total debt servicing costs reached 3.57 trillion naira in Q3 2023 and up to 60 billion naira from 3.51 trillion recorded in Q2, yet with no reviewed accountability of the utilization. Breakdown of the external debt payment showed that over $600 million, representing 55.7% of the total, was paid to multilateral lenders. The International Monetary Fund (IMF) topped the list, receiving $407.97 million, the highest payment to any creditor during the period. This sharp increase in an external debt obligation continues to raise concerns among analysts and stakeholders about the country's rising debt burden, especially amid limited revenue generation. This demonstrates the hopelessly bankrupt and fantastically corrupt former British company called Nigeria is dying.
Now, recap of the terrorism acts in the last week. In Ebonyi, a female government official was abducted by unknown gunmen who disguised as soldiers transferred the ladies to residents overpowered and whisked their way to an unknown destination in the early hours of that Thursday morning. Lakurawa terrorist group killed 13 vigilantes in Kebbi last Sunday when the assailants stormed the village and attempted to rush the castle, when local vigilantes took cover in a nearby club and launched an ambush to recover the livestock and repel the attackers. However, the vigilantes were unaware they have already been surrounded and were sacked, killing at least 13 of them on the spot. A popular transporter in Ondo, Muhili Adebayo, was abducted by armed bandits. The assailants killed his son and injured his wife during the attack in their home. Only 2 days ago, tragedy struck when a 22-year-old man, identified simply as James, was brutally killed on his way from Ijebu Miango by suspected armed herdsmen in Plateau State. On international scene, reports yesterday say China has removed Nigeria from her official map and chat app. Beijing is believed to be considering severing ties with rogue regime in Nigeria by closing the zoo embassy in a careful move many believe may not be unconnected with continuing legitimacy quest of the present APC administration rather than the frenzied social media write-ups of the last weekend. From the USA, we learn from authoritative links that FBI, DEA, IRS, and CIA have now admitted that the
the 1993 illicit fund traced to bank's account belonging to Bola Ahmed Tinubu were mostly probably proceeds from illegal drug deals. Tinubu in 2023 forfeited $460,000 to the U.S. authorities. This will open a can of worms against the ambassador dubious to presidents. That's the news this week. The UK timeout continues.
Welcome back. You're still listening to the UK Timeout on Radio Biafra. We sincerely apologize for the hiccups at the start of the program tonight, but we'll make up for it. We often retake or renew our vows periodically, be it during anniversaries or as required by any organization or institution we serve with such prerequisite. How mindful and faithful are we to the letters and spirits of our oath? What steps do we take for restitution and restoration when we fall short of expectations? Today, we prelude our Easter special episode by looking at oath renewal and atonement, Tonic for liberation. I have with me in the studios tonight two Ezigbo Muchineke who are deeply rooted in spirituality, not just religious duty. It is my pleasure to welcome you both back to the UK Timeout on Radio Biafra. I start by saying happy Palm Sunday to you, and I wish you and all the Christian faithfuls a truly holy week ahead. Please kindly unmute and greet our great listeners in our usual manner. I will start with you, sister, please.
Over Biafra.
Biafra. You're coming out clear, sister. Go ahead.
So it's a pleasure to be here once again to share this moment of reflection on our oaths. And I pray that Chukwukika Abiyama will give all of us the intelligence and the wisdom to understand our oaths and the way forward in terms of atonement. So I'm happy to be here. All hail Biafra.
If you kindly please remind our listeners, I know they know you well, of your name, where you hail from Biafra land, and where you serve Biafrans currently, or where you're both. This is our usual format.
Yes, my name is Reverend Sister Chiazo Amarachi. I am from Mbise, and presently I live in Scotland, where together with my IPOB brothers and sisters, we are trying to make sure that the gospel of salvation is heard.
Thank you very much, Ezibada Biafra. Wouldn't mind. So, you're most welcome.
All hail Biafra.
Biafra, we heard you. Chineke.
Yes, Chineke. My name is Afunwa Ukeje. I hail from Isukwato, Old Bende, Umuahia province, Biafra land. By the grace of Chukwokika, myself, the indigenous people of Biafra, the capacity as the zonal coordinator of Milton Keynes in the West Midlands, United Kingdom. I'm happy to be here. All hail Biafra.
Biafra, we heard the Ezebo Wachineke. Like I said in the intro, Reverend Sister Chiazo Marachi is religious with anointing and calling of the Catholic Church. And the Mass Afroma KJ is also a knight of the church. But today we are not just looking at church, religion, or even spirituality, but we are looking at duty of allegiance, which the oath represents. Super, let's start with basic definition. You know that oath, renewal, and atonement are related top concepts or words, but could you kindly break them down, for our listeners, Radio Biafra, especially UK Timeout? We'll try to dissect topics and break them down to understand simple terms.
Thank you, Mazi. When we talk about oath is a promise made to God to perform a specific act or to do something in exchange for a desired outcome, or also to thank God for something. While atonement is a process by which people remove an obstacle to their reconciliation with God. So while I was actually preparing this particular program, I tried to look into different religions we have and to understand how they see oaths. And I came to the conclusion that oath it has a common nature, because it has to do with a human being and a divine. And there's always a reason. The reason could be to seek justice. The reason for taking an oath could be to be guided. The reason that might push us or somebody in a particular religion to take an oath might be to attract good fortune to him or herself. So when we talk of oath, there are three things, or rather, I would like to add the last fourth one, but there are three elements we need to consider. First of all, there is a human being, a living being, that makes a decision because of a need. So the reason is attached to a need, and the need is being requested or being asked to a supreme being. And the last element is that whenever this oath is being carried out, there's a kind of ritual that follows it. And this process of ritual can be verified in different religions. But what makes it unique is that is the intentional action. It is something the person might have understood, thought about, and decided to take that bold step. So just as in the freedom fighting, we take the vote of allegiance, right? The oath of allegiance. So it has to be like acknowledging the duty, your duty, swearing loyalty to something, to somebody, or to a movement. Just as in this, our particular movement for the restoration of Biafra. But if we try to extend this knowledge of oath, at a point, the person taking the oath might find the need for an atonement. Atonement comes from a need.
at a point you might discover that you need, just like when you wear your shoe, you know, from time to time you need to clean it up, to bring it back to its original existence or color. So the need to reshuffle, the need to refresh, and on that need for atonement, it comes on two steps. It comes through forgiveness and cleansing. Maybe I'll have to stop here and I'll take it further.
Yeah, thank you very much, sister, for that wonderful intro. And not just definition, but a clear explanation. Mazi, if you want to come in and probably add a little bit to that very, very eloquent elucidation of the topic, especially from the point of atonement for liberation. Since I already said atonement is kind of process of correction for a mistake or breaking of an oath, if you like, which could involve some restitution, penance, or other forms of amendments, or one can make for an error. But if you can just throw a bit more light on that, and at the same time, explain a little bit to us, if there is any kind, the differences between oath and the religious creed that we know.
Yes, our sister really did well with her explanation and elaboration. Being in IPOB for many years now, and also being one that grew up among the elders, oath taking is also part of our culture. Oath taking is something we embraced from our culture, and as well when we get to as Christians, those of us that are Christians, you almost more or less take oath. If, for instance, I will speak for maybe the Catholics, you renew your oath almost on every time you attend the Mass. The oath taking that we know culturally is demanded to make sure that our allegiance to our collective interest is not questionable. An oath is a solemn promise, a declaration. And just as our sister explained, it's voluntary. You have to accept it. It's not forced on you. And that is why when you make oath, when you take an oath, even in the normal society we live today, say in the court of law, it becomes binding. And when you break or fall with such oath, you could be persecuted. And that's why it's not taken lightly when people lie on that oath. When someone has taken an oath, they have formally sworn to uphold certain responsibilities and conduct, usually in a public, legal or ceremonial context. For example, even when for some of us outside the country, we will take naturalization ceremonies, we will take citizenship. All these things require you to take an oath of allegiance. And being an IPOB member, oath of allegiance is something very crucial, and that has, you agree with me, sustained and helped IPOB in navigating through all the troubles and all the trials we have encountered. So, and that is why today when you see any person who remains as an IPOB, you can say this person has been tested, tried and tested. The allegiance or atonement as well is cultural. In several parts of Biafra land, Igbo land specifically, certain times where our people embark on certain cleansing when they feel things have gone wrong or things need to be put right. In some parts of Igbo land, it even takes up to 21 days of special cleansing, which if you look at the Christendom, even with the Easter, which we are now during the Holy Week, you will see there's some similarities, because in the cultural setting, we embark on this atonement procedure or process for as long as 21 days, and in some cases, the first sons of the families are called upon. They will leave home as early as 5 or 4 in the morning to the designated places, and they come back around 7 in the evening. They will do this, and on the final day, the 21 day, in some cases, there's ceremony for them to break their fasting, and after breaking that fasting, they say this community has been finally cleansed. So, same with what we have in the Christendom, during this time of Lent.
It's biblical. It's also in the Bible.
Yes. In this time of Lent, we go through cleansing, we go through atonement, because being human, we are fallible. So there's need, just as we do from yearly, IPOB, we do atonement. That is opportunity for us to retrace and as well to re-examine ourselves and also ask for forgiveness. It is spiritual, and it is also something cultural. But the most important thing is that it serves a purpose to make sure that everybody is speaking with one voice or going same direction or retracing our steps to do the right thing. So I think atonement, oath taking, these are all part of pillars that IPOB have embraced and will continue to embrace because of the importance and the significance in our struggle. Sorry. So let me hold it here.
I'm very correct, Machineke. So listeners, you've heard it. We're going to explore it a bit more. Oath taking is spiritual, is cultural. Biafra restoration is of the spirit. Even to say it, it is not fetish. So I want to pose that question now to sisters, who also did a wonderful research before coming on air to discover or come to the conclusion that oath taking is across religions. Believe be it traditional religion, whether the Roman government, be it Islam, Christianity, Judaism, and other religious practices and other spiritual activities, all involve oath. It's also civil. It's also in the probably government establishment, like Mazi said, the oath you take in the course, the oath you take before you assume a political office or position, even though they break it in a second and nothing happens to them. The oath you take when you go into holy institutions like the holy matrimony, marriage, the vow you take, the vow exchange you make is an oath before God Almighty, who has joined man and wife to become one. So there's nothing unbiblical about oath-taking and atonement. But sister, I will leave it to you. You are the expert here. Is oath-taking fetish? Is it anti-Christian? Is it a curse, a spell on the person taking oath or renewing oath?
So I would like to say, give a little bit background on what fetish actually is. It's a Greek word. It's an ancient Greek word that makes reference to believing in a supernatural power or giving unreasonable devotion to such powers. Oath-taking is not fetish. It's an intentional act done for a reason. For example, when somebody takes an oath, you are not taking it because you want to give an exaggerated. I mean, many of us have done the naturalization that Mazi cited before. We have taken oaths of allegiance to the various nations that we've acquired their citizenship.
Okay, I will happily do that. Yeah.
Yeah, and we happily do it. We are proud of it. We fly their passport as ever. So why would the oath taken in the freedom movement for your land be considered a fetish act? That's a question we should be asking people who are portraying it. Apparently, what we will be concerned about is that you have made a decision to step in and stand for the restoration of your land. And as such, the oath of allegiance that you have taken, you must work hard to live an honorable life as a protector of your land. So, you've made an intentional decision. You stepped in to be the voice of justice, to be the voice of equity, to be the voice of the voiceless. And that your intentional act should push you into living an honorable life, a life of equity, fairness, and justice. I think that is the spiritual aspect of it. That the oath I'm taking is actually changing my life. Such as when we take oath in these countries, we try as much as we can to respect the laws of the country. We try as much as we can to be civil. So we have also to start working on ourselves, so that apart from being good citizens, we can also, our goodness, our honorable life can be contagious. People around us can actually learn from it and learn to live better. So Mazi, I don't know if I've answered your question very well.
In fact, you have actually highlighted.
I wanted to add one thing to what Mazi said. Mazi attracted my attention to a very important point. When I was doing my research on oath, in the Igbo land, we are the only people that have a different meaning attached to oath. Our oath is often done when we settle disputes or when we seek justice. This is something I did not find in other religion. Though ours is a spirituality, that is why it's much more deeper. So it is attached, and there is a specific object, the offer, that is used to do the ritual. So I just wanted to highlight this because as when Mazi was speaking, my attention was drawn to that particular fact, that discovery, that we are special people.
Absolutely.
We are always outstanding. We are different from every other people. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. Mazi, you, apart from being a knight of the church as sir, you are also a traditional title holder. So, could you expatiate more on this significance of oath-taking in our Biafra or Igbo culture, especially, and also generally? looking at, we will come to the effectiveness of oath taking in liberation movement shortly, but let's look at it, the significance overall, especially in the context of our Biafran Igbo cosmology. Somebody said to me not too long ago that the reason why our politicians or public office holders misbehave, embezzle funds, and just desecrate the office they hold is because they go there and they say they take an oath of allegiance, they're giving the Bible, they don't even believe in the Bible, and they just recite one line or the other they've been typed or projected on the screen for them to read. It's just lip service. They walk away, the next second they completely renege and damage or break all the lines or words and letters of the oath they've just taken. But that if they had been given an offer, as Sister said, to hold, or even a major in taking that oath, that virtually fear of God will go into them straight away and they will not mess up. They will deliver on the promises of the office they took an oath for. How do you see that?
You are 100% right. It's nice. In Igbo cosmology and also with the Christian religion, starting with the Igbo setting, when you are required to take oath, just as we do in IPOB, you are asked to take off your shoes. And barefooted, you stand on the ground, on the soil. That's because we understand the power and the forces that Chukwokikabiyama work with. That's why most people, as we make reference to those in political offices, they would actually run away if you subject them to that. What we do in IPOB is a serious business, a serious thing. You are required to take off your shoes and with your sole of your feet touching the soil, the ground, then you now get oath. This is the height of sincerity. This brings out crystal clear that you are not deceitful and you know what is at stake. Our forefathers or people of old understand very well how Chukwokikabiyama relates with us. You could imagine in their time there are no more or less like we have today, so police or soldiers, but there is law and order. That law and order is deep rooted, and the missionaries that came firstly could testify to that. That you agree with me, in those days when you go to farm, if you decide to offload some of the wares, or say for instance yam on the roadside, all you need to do just keep it there. Maybe it's too much for you to carry, and you take a stone and put on top of it. That it could be there for 1 week, nobody will touch it.
That's true.
Because people understand what the community stands for and what guides the society. So I think with what we do in IPOB, the oath of allegiance, sometimes I think we should not even be perturbed with the allegation or its fetish, is this, is that. It is ignorance in the part of those who do not understand what they ought to understand. But that will not make us to back up because we know the importance. It is actually a unifying factor. It brings us together. It strengthens our loyalty and our purpose. It binds us. We speak with one voice And that's why anywhere you go in this world, forget about the infiltrators. When you introduce yourself to a fellow IPOB, you'll be blessed. From the beginning, we had that thing that wherever you go, as an Igbo man, for instance, once you hear your brother or your sister speak, you look as if you have seen somebody of the same womb. But due to so many things that have gone wrong in our society, we have kind of drifted. So what IPOB is doing now, when we say going back to culture, is restoring who we were or how we're supposed to be. And that is what we will continue to be grateful for, raising someone like Mazi Nnamdi Kanu to bring us to this consciousness. What we are doing now, step by step, is very vital, because if we don't have all these things in place and you get into Biafra, people will be so ignorant to understand their left from their right. So what we're doing, taking, having atonement, and having oath of allegiance, these things are preparing us ahead of time, because the new Biafra we envisage will be different from whatever we have ever known. So I think our POB is on the right track, and will continue to do the needful.
Absolutely. Okay. Our Biafra will be a cleansed land, a land of spirit. Even AI, I was checking it up, acknowledges the significance or importance of oaths, that they symbolize a commitment to duty, integrity, and loyalty, reinforces the importance of promises made and responsibility shouldered on the one who promised to keep their promises, thereby establishing trust, accountability, integrity, as I mentioned earlier, upholding ethical standards across various aspects or facets of society, from public service to professional ethics and legal proceedings. So, as I said, without solid oath, not just the citation of words, solid oath, people will be savages, let's be honest. They will not uphold any integrity, there won't be any truth, there won't be any accountability, neither responsibility. And that is why these people who hide under falsehood in our society and communities, they are scared of us, and some of them hide under Christianity. Oh, you don't want me, I don't swear it's against my religion. Here tonight, sister, the religious, ordained one for that matter, has made it very clear to us, it's sheer hypocrisy. If you're scared of oath taking, that means you have skeleton in your cupboard. That means you are dubious. You are a very dangerous animal. You see, wherever you find yourself. Now, sister, let's go straight to the main thing. How effective is oath taking in the liberation movement? In IPOB, our IPOB UK family members can recall that our dear sister, Chiazo Amachi, in January 2023, when we did our New Year e-workshop or seminar, gave us a fantastic lecture presentation about this topic and its significance in what we are doing. Now, sister, how effective is it? Because we have taken oaths, and we are in the process of retaking, or some of you who took initially shy away from retaking it. God might be the glory. Last June, during our AGM in London, the Spirit came upon me, and I requested, and we need to make a comply, that we all retake our oath. I am being led again by the Spirit that this year, all of us will retake our oath again at all the principal officers. We have to do this every year. So how effective is it, my dear sister?
Oh, Mazi, I will answer from personal experience, right? I made mention of intention. Now, if you're a Biafran freedom fighter, ask yourself, why are you in this movement? Because oath taken is between you and your God, in the presence of your brothers and sisters who have made that decision to share the same ideology with you. As Mazi said previously, we all are happy to take the oath of allegiance to other countries because we want their passport. That word is not fetish for you. But the oath you need to take for the restoration of Biafra, for those our children who were killed innocently because they were Biafrans, for those our women whose life were taken, who were raped, for those our ancestors, brothers who went into war, the oath of allegiance that you will be taking to give them voice becomes for you a fetish act. And that is what I call living in the present but dwelling in the slavery of the past, where you cannot be proud of who you are. You cannot embrace the effort and the need to fight for your land, but you willingly embrace that of other people. Now, the intention is fighting for the liberation of Biafra, right? Every morning when I wake up, immediately I do my sign of the cross. I pray for those innocent children that were killed during the Biafran war. That is my own personal devotion. That is my everyday renewal of my oath of allegiance to this particular struggle. It is a personal factor. That is why I'm kind of emphasizing on the intention. Because things can happen and you start running about and forget the reason why you are here. The reason we are here is to give voice to those children, women, men who stood up to protect our life, directly and indirectly. That is why we are here. And that is why we've made the decision to take the oath of allegiance. So, if you are not living up to that oath of allegiance, it is between you and your chukwu. Because I don't know if any of you experienced this. I don't know if sometimes in your life or when challenges come that might discourage you, it seems as you are hearing the cries of those children with kwashoko. It seems as if you are hearing the voices of those our young lady that were raped in front of their family members by the Nigerian soldiers during the war. And up till now, our bleeds. Those actions have not stopped. So it's not about shouting, it's not about talking, it's about having a strong intention, a philosophical intention why you are here. And that is where the effort and the work to live an honorable life starts.
Sure.
Sometimes it seems that as if we brag we took oath of our allegiance, then our life is the opposite of what that oath should be showing. We lie. We do things that are not good. So my position and my contribution in this is that oath, you have taken it in front of your brothers and sisters for a reason, a very strong intention why you did it. And if you are not living up to expectation, it is left for you and the divine with whom you have taken that. Mazi made mention of Anne, and I've always said that. And it represents fertility, motherhood. And it is not a joke. When in something you are doing, you invite fertility, you invite life, because motherhood is life. And all of a sudden, you don't want to give life to such. So, when you take a note, it is left for you. Because it is called responsibility and also accountability. You have to be accountable to Chukwu. If you are living up to expectation of that, I cannot judge you, because what I can see is the external factor. But God knows who you really are and what are your intentions in what you are doing. Dalomazi.
Thank you very much, sister. Thank you. Mazi, I'll come to you now in regard to how effective oath taking has been in liberation movement, using our IPOB as a case study. Also, you can look at the Mau Mau oath taken for the Mau Mau liberation movement in Kenya. We know that oath taking has a lot of benefits to liberation movement. For example, fostering solidarity and also support the resistance against oppressive forces or tendencies. In IPOB, how effective has it been? Someone mentioned to me, and I did my work on that, well, actually, to realize that a lot of people who refuse to retake the oath were those that the infiltrators easily penetrated. They are the people that you see that as soon as Windu was criminally kidnapped in Kenya, disappears, and they join the Yoruba gang or the group that say until Windu comes out, who is another way of saying you are against the movements Oyendo put in place. But those who retook the oaths, as soon as the head of the Directorate of State issued that order for the taking of oaths, immediately these infiltrators started their criminal act. Those who of us who retook the oaths, majority have remained faithful and loyal. So clearly, there is some level of effectiveness there. Can you relate to this, please?
Yes, you are very correct. Whenever we shine light in the darkness, darkness cannot comprehend it. It must disappear. And what we see in IPOB, with the infiltrators and with the criminals coming in and using the noble name wrongly, is an example of way that actually brings to or encourages us to continue with what we're doing, because that is a way of purging out the bad eggs. You mentioned about the Mau Mau. These are examples of how oath has helped in liberation movements. Even the ANC, they had things to do with atonement, truth and reconciliation commission, and Even the Tamil Tigers of Sri Lanka, they use martyrdom oaths. But as our sister rightly said, the oath we have and the atonement we have in Biafra land, in Igbo land, is very special and is very, very, is something we should be proud of. The effectiveness of oath taking cannot be ever emphasized. During this time of atonement, it gives us the opportunity to reflect and as well to amend. It's not as if because we are human, sometimes you think you are doing things right, but when you pause and you reflect, you will see some areas of you need to amend. That is why this period of even for those who are Christians, you reflect. This is a holy time. This is a holy week before the Easter. So IPOB as a movement have actually it has been very effective in the movement. I mean, oath taking in liberation movement generally is very, very essential. If you relate to atonement in the context of freedom fighting, it could be spiritual, it could be personal, it could also be communal, it could also, even in political setting. It usually emerges when individuals or groups seek to make peace with actions taken during the struggle, especially when things are seemingly going right. We still have to pause, we still have to retrace, we still have to do atonement, so that even when we go, for instance, in the Christian faith, we say we go for confession. That does not say you will not sin again, but you will continue. It is a struggle. It's not, you have not attained that perfection. So I will urge all members of IPOB that you will have heard, though the leadership have red line, I hope and I pray that we do not cross red lines. The oath we take have specified the do's and don'ts. Having said that, the atonement gives us that opportunity to re-examine. And as you rightly said, national, retaking our oath of allegiance is a very vital thing that will continue. You can imagine in the Biafra we envisage, because without this very consciousness, just imagine with the consciousness that everybody knows you have to do things right. Then with the government, with the power we will have to implement our laws and make sure that our laws work. For society, that really will be a place to long to be. So I see that the effectiveness of oath taking in the liberation movement, in particular IPOB, has been enormous. Our Onyendu is a shining example. Despite what he has been passing through, when we look at him, sometimes some of us will say, my goodness, where is this strength coming from? It's a discipline. You cannot, even asking for justice or equity, you must come with clean hands. So atonements give us that opportunity to purge ourselves and to come with clean hands. Chukwokike will continue to fight our battle, the sin and unseen, while physically we'll continue to do what we do. Most of us may not actually be conscious that they are atoning on a daily basis. You can see the sacrifice of the ESN. These men and women that sacrifice their life each day. These are the gatekeepers of Biafra land. There's no kind of sacrifice you can equate to this. Mazen Nnamdi Kanu have been given everything imaginable to renounce the freedom we hope for. But because he always said that our allegiance is to the dead, just as our sister reminded us, those who could not make it, these children that starved to death, our fathers who gave their life, even recently, while the zoo government continued to kill us, our men, even some at the point of giving up the ghost, we said, please promise me that we will continue. That is the height of dedication, discipline, and sacrifice. So I see that taking and atonement and all the paraphernalia that goes with it has actually strengthened IPOB. I will continue to help us to navigate the right path. Eventually, I believe history will remember us kindly. The one.
Clearly, oath solidifies the group identity, commitment, as you rightly pointed out, creative discipline, purpose, dedication, reinforcing and promoting sincerity, as well as unity of purpose. The one that touches me most is the fact that by taking oaths, you are inspiring action, not just people saying things without meaning or understanding the meaning of what they are saying. You are also, the one that doesn't do is always humble, building resilience in the face of adversity, even in the face of the enemy. You are resolute. These are the fundamental principles upon which the pillars of IPOB are erected. Now, I say thank you once again for some of those wonderful examples you gave, where liberation movements have been known historically to embrace oath-taking. And bringing it closer to home here in Europe, in the United Kingdom, or our neighbors, the Irish Republican Brotherhood we also know had their oath, which was very crucial during the time of the Irish War of Independence, given their historical battles with their British neighbors and other foes, in quote. So, for a liberation movement such as the indigenous people of Biafra, or anybody really in trouble, in servitude, in slavery, in economic or social, political bondage, oath is very essential. Keeps people on track. Instill that discipline, without which everybody, I was said earlier on, is a savage. And people behave like animals. That's why we describe Nigeria as a zoo. Because not that we mean to insult anybody, but this is where human beings behave like animals, sometimes less than an animal. Most animals are tamed and trained. So most human beings in that enclave and that culture, despite their training, certified training, total training, have no intuitive training, and they are not tamed. Some chance. Sister, let's go down to atonement in religious cycle, or would I be Christianity or any other faith? How close is that to the atonement we witness in liberation movement, as Mazi just gave some examples? Are they similar in any way?
Yeah, Mazi, we're going to thank you for your submission, and that was a nice one, and it gave me a lot of points to reflect on. So coming to the uniqueness of atonement is that it's the same thing both in the religious circle and in every other circle. Atonement goes with forgiveness and cleansing. Now, many a time we misunderstand forgiveness and we stick it as forgetting and moving on. We are human beings. When things happen, it takes us time to elaborate on it, you know, and to be healed. It's not even about forgiving the other person, but healing from that particular negative experience you have experienced. That is one of the things that makes forgiveness difficult, because we are human. So when you prepare yourself for an atonement, you must be prepared to pass through a process of forgiveness, acknowledgement, dialogue, understanding. That is where your mind is purified, your life is purified. Then you go through the ritual of cleansing. Obviously, our people sometimes, when we hear about ritual, our mind runs to the fetish activities. Now, ritual is anything you do in a particular moment for a particular purpose. You can call it your ritual. Your ritual can be each morning when you wake up from your bed, you drink a cup of water. That could be a ritual for you, something you do all the time for a reason. So, both in freedom fighting and in the religious circle, atonement comes in you recognizing the need for a change, the need for a new process in life. When you're wearing a shoe and you notice that you have dust on your shoe, that is the first process. You pick up a piece of cloth, you clean it, or you get a brush and you kind of shine it. It's always your shoe, but you've purified it, you've made it look better. That's the ritual of cleansing. So Mazi, I think I'm going to confirm that. It goes into steps, and this we can verify it in different religions. There's a moment of recognition, and the moment in which we go into action of making that thing, renewing that particular reality, that particular situation, that particular fact. Thank you.
Very much, sister. Surely, our atonement is mostly about addressing, and just as Sister rightly said, not just addressing, but also redressing injustices, grave errors or wrongs or mistakes. It's not about sweeping things under the carpet or, as Sister said, just forgiving and forgetting as if they didn't happen. No. It's about accountability, responsibility, and making a genuine commitment to moral reformations, collective transformation. Every party being involved to say, yes, we are committed to fostering healing and reconciliation so as to bring about restorative justice. Remember, during our February special guest episode, we had our First Lady, Lolo Chechukwu, speak about restorative justice. We'll be back on this program on Easter for the special Easter episode to continue that line of projection of what we are trying to achieve with this program, which is sanitizing our minds. Remember, in the UK, we are committed to making sure that we stay sure, not just being resolute, but we stay sure and firm focus. Because when we are resolute, which I think most of us are, But indeed, we are sure and stay sure. We know why we are fighting for Biafra restoration. We know why we believe that Biafra must be restored in our lifetime. And we are sure how it should be restored peacefully. Then we firm our focus. Then Chukwukadama will see how pure our heart is and how faithful we are to the cause. Why won't we get Biafra? Just tell me. All these ingredients are mostly lacking. And people chase shadows and do jamborees, like we saw at the Mangang, turn the movement, turn the quest into content creation, caricature, jamboree, and other razzmatazz that have no place in true liberation movement. So, sister, thank you very much. Mazi will be coming closer to home as we hone this topic. I'm sure our listeners are enjoying it. You're still listening to the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra, coming to you from the staple of the IPOB United Kingdom family. I'm your host, Ikechukwu Nwokoro, the IPOB United Kingdom National Coordinator. Tonight I have in the studios with me two trustworthy, formidable and faithful Ezigbo Chineke, Ada Biafra, Reverend Sister Chiazo Amarachi, a principal officer from our IPOB Scotland family, and Mazi Sir Afunwa Okeje, our IPOB Nursing Kings Zonal Coordinator. They've done great work to expose to us the significance of our oath-taking and atonement as tonic for our liberation. Mazi, I'll come back to you. Does atonement, okay, we've looked at that. What other forms of atonement are obtainable in freedom fighting? How can IPOB safeguard our mission for Biafra restoration with these atonements and oath-taking?
Yes, Mazi, as Nwokoro, how we can safeguard our mission with oath-taking and atonement. I would say IPOB believes in sensitization of our members and all Biafrans. It's very important that every Biafran should understand why we are doing what we are doing. Actually, with what is going on in Nigeria today, in the zoo, people need not to be, they have seen it all, to the point that they make this statement, may Nigeria never happen to you all. That tells you that Nigeria has become a harbinger of everything abominable. So IPOB have continued to inform and continue to educate our people. It's very, very important that we continue to get enriched by listening to all the broadcasts, all the lectures, all the messages from the HOD, and all the direction we get where we are today, the press release. We will continue to circulate it to all Biafrans to know the direction and where we are going. Oath-taking and atonement can be a sacred tool not just for internal order, but to alleviate IPOB mission into something rooted in our enviable ancestral justice, ethical warfare, and long-term unity. When grounded in culture and guided by wisdom, they become symbolic. They become revolutionary safeguards. So IPOB will continue to safeguard this mission, doing what we are doing that is very potent and is out there for all to see. We must remain consistent. We must remain focused. Everything has been thrown on us, but IPOB will remain camping. We must continue, and it's either Biafra or Biafra, or Biafra.
Biafra, we heard you want to make it. Sister, you mentioned something very, very touching to me about repentance and apology as forms of atonement. And I recall that not too long ago at our Directorate of State, through the Commander General of the ESL, Mazicina Saworu, announced that a 90-day window has been given to all those who broke the oath, all those who jumped ship, who fell into slumber or temptation, to come back to the fold and retake their oaths. In fact, how do we measure repentance? Using the movement for our restoration of Biafra, and also your how would you measure somebody's sincerity of purpose, for example, when they come to tender an apology and pledge their repentance? Because Amanda Neze, with what has happened between June 2021 and today, and is still ongoing, we have to, as Mazi said, negotiate our Biafra restoration, so that never again will we witness the kind of infiltration that we passed through, that nearly, if not for Chukwuka Abiyama, destroyed the very fabric of this heaven-ordained quest for Biafra restoration. When somebody says they have repented, are they like the so-called repentant Boko Harams who still go about killing people and are now also the bandits? How do we measure apologies and repentance gauge within the movement?
There is what we call in education active listening. Many a time we make the mistake of hearing people. When you hear noise. But when you listen actively, you listen with empathy and you listen with compassion. I think in our struggle, we need to embrace active listening and dialogue. Mazi, we need to learn how to dialogue even when it hurts. Because that is where we can retrieve and bring back our brothers. We need to listen with compassion and empathy. Because when you listen with compassion and empathy, your heart is cleared of every other, wounds or things you've passed through. And I always believe that a pure heart can convert even the worst enemy.
Sure.
A pure heart.
I believe so too.
But it's very difficult to keep a pure heart. So I believe in active listening and dialogue as the way forward. Because if we can dialogue with our brothers and sisters, we wouldn't even have reasons for these things to be happening, for somebody to kind of betray. If I know that if I run to Mazi Nice, and Mazi Nice will listen to me compassionately, with empathy, and tell me the truth, the way it is, why would I run away? So I think our oath should teach us to how to acquire and live based on certain ethics. In this ethics, it is fundamental that we are active the way we listen to our brothers and sisters, and we are open to dialogue. Thank you, Mazi.
Thank you very much. That is very, very, very key. Empathy, compassion, because also the moral education you mentioned, self-reflection, and again, we can keep referring to transformation, the willingness to embrace reformations. This year, 2025, we declared it right from the back end of last year, is our year of positive transformations, and that's what all of us should be working towards. I'm talking about transformation. There is no better time or period of the year to really go deep into reflection towards a sincere, genuine commitment to transformation than the Lenten season. The 40 days of repentance, penance, whatever ritual you do in your own way, regardless of your faith, religious faith or beliefs, but you do that. You do some self-discipline, abstinence, and embrace personal transformation, which I strongly believe if we all do it individually and collectively we come together with that positive energy, it's going to move mountains. That's what this call embraces. Now, as we are winding up, let me ask you, for some people, I really feel sorry for a lot of us, no disrespect to anybody, who don't quite understand the nature of spirituality of what we are doing in our quest for Biafra restoration, who confuse a religious mind or somebody who is faithful in their belief to mean that, in quote, undermining the importance of faith in what we are doing. What do you have to say to such people?
I would say that it's very, very important that they open their mind to learn. Even in the faith, some of them give unnecessary reason why this is against this, is against this. It's just uncalled for. It's I call it ignorance. At the end of the day, both tradition, every religion or every belief system is a culture. The Igbo culture we have is very unique, and it embraces, it actually brings out the best in humanity. What IPOB is doing, IPOB, I've seen where our society is drifting uncontrollably. IPOB, I continue to say, remains the consciousness and the conscience of who we should be. We've not arrived, but we have taken the pen to tread this path. So what I'm telling our brothers or sisters, those who feel one, whatever reason, you cannot afford to be aloof. You cannot afford to be neutral. It's actually dangerous for you to be neutral. Take the blame. Swallow your pride. Retrace your steps. Come back to the fold. But I would also continue to urge the leadership. what we are doing is liberation movement. Ndị Igbo si n'ọwụ achụpụ the fox achụpụ ọkụnta eju ọkụkọ ebe ka ị na-eje, because you don't question the fowl in the presence of the fox. We might be very strict, and that is right, that is correct, that's how it's supposed to be. Don't expect us to dance to paint the way you like it. No. We will continue to learn from what has happened to us. Based on what we have learned, we consolidate our gains. It's not individual, it's not personal. We have something bigger than you and I, anybody, to protect. The freedom we are fighting is for generations unborn. Our enemies are determined, and we must be more determined than them. Our leader, Martin Nnamdi Kanu, is showing us that example. We have no reason whatsoever to betray the movement. And even when you come back to the movement, you should be humble to remain where you are asked to remain. That you were leading before and you are asked to be follower. The fact remains that if you are not a good follower, you cannot be a good leader. IPOB cannot toy with what has taken life. The bloodshed for our freedom can never be in vain. So for those who have backstepped or who have erred, there is still a window of opportunity for you to come back, because you cannot actually go back. There's no back to go back to. So don't wait for us to come and plead with you. We're not pleading. We are telling you the fact. The fact is crystal clear that this thing we are doing is selfless. And if you understand that you are building for generations unborn, if you understand that we cannot leave this struggle for our children to inherit, then, because sometimes I do have chat with my friends and I said, for those of us that believes in heaven and hell, you might not be judged because you go to church every Sunday, or because whatever. You might be judged because you left slavery behind for generations unborn. What we are doing is godly. What we are doing is sacred. What we are doing is unique. We must swallow our selfish pride and come back to the serious business of restoring our dignity as human beings. Biafra is a sacred mission. The restoration of Biafra is a duty call for all Biafrans. There is no reason to backpedal. So IPOB will remain strong. IPOB will remain straight in law. Ignorance is not an excuse. If you err, expect discipline. Discipline is the key. We must maintain that discipline. We must continue what we are doing until we get to the promised land.
That is the gospel. As also to Kwade no Kambede. Okadi Padero, Stono, Onakoro, Yegere, no, with the American. Here tonight we have spread the gospel of truth about our oath and atonement. These are tonic. If you like, call them your Holy Communion, our liberation. Take it, receive it, and receive life. Know this fruit, and it shall set you free. I also want to use this opportunity while thanking my guests tonight, panelists, Ada Biafra, Reverend Sister Chiazo Amarachi, and Maazisa Afunwa Okeje for their wonderful insightful and incisive at times analysis and presentations on this particular topic. I use the opportunity to remind our IPOB UK family of the duties we have. Tomorrow, as you heard in the news beat, we have our enlarged cabinet meeting with the different sub-teams set up already ahead of our forthcoming AGM and European Evangelism bid for the 5th of July this year. Don't forget that before then, our yearly or annual May 30th Biafra Independence and Remembrance Day will be coming up in London, while our AGM is in the small but mighty town of Luton, just on the outskirts of London. So the preparations have begun. The countdown has started. Don't be left out. Be part of it. Make your commitment to this struggle. The support for the Eastern Security Network is unequivocal. We are making our usual contribution, and this quarter's end of quarter ESN fundraising, the deadline which was extended is on Good Friday, this Friday coming. May the Holy Spirit of Chukwuka Abiyama empower you and inspire you to support Umuakwukwo, who are our last line of defense. Not forgetting also our commitment to feeding our people, because they say a hungry man is an angry man. Therefore, the IPOB, through our leadership, has once again committed to Agricultural Revolution Project. And we are appealing to everybody to please contribute support. There is a certain prescribed amount, and you can chip in your widow's mite. It's in dollars. $50, $100, whatever you have to support your name. There will be a special list for all those who have supported. Your name will be in good as one of those who have come to the rescue of our people at this trying time. We know what the marauding Janjaweed expansionists who are greedily seeking to acquire our land by force are doing in our place. Has not abated. Since the APC government came into place, it is an ongoing project of the Janjaweed Fulani federal government of the zoo. They are not reneging. They are consistently continuing this evil desire of theirs. Unfortunately, our people are collaborators. The so-called political leaders and other community leaders have been brought over. So we cannot allow our people to die of starvation because the Fulani killer herdsmen have brought their infested, demonized herd of cattle to ravish our farmland, desecrate our land, and destroy means of livelihood and even sustenance of our people. And therefore, ESN is there to do the onerous task of defending our land and protecting our farms, while the DOS is there to power the agricultural revolution towards restoration. Sister, what will be your passing shot tonight? I thank you so much for your patience and the presence tonight, hoping that you join us another day when we call on you.
Sure. Thank you so much, Mazi. It's been a pleasure, and I want all of us to honestly find out a genuine reason why we are in this struggle and why we need to actually work hard on ourselves, because if we don't free ourselves, we can't free anybody. So to understand and work on ourselves so that when we start working for the freedom, the spirit of freedom will not move and convert others. We can do this. We are doing it already. So let's keep doing the good work. Dalomasi, all hail Biafra.
Biafra, we heard you. Thank you so much. Indeed, wait about that Biafra. Mazi, Ukeje, thank you, sir. That will be your passing shot as we look forward to a very peaceful Holy Week preparatory to Easter.
Yeah, I will continue to emphasize, first and foremost, to continue to encourage and to urge our presenters. I want to acknowledge our elder here, Maza Lozia, for his steadfastness, and I want to thank all our presenters, what they do. And this is a very opportunity, this time of atonement. I want as well to urge our leadership to remain steadfast. This is a very important time. There has never been a time after atonement we expect great things to happen. We do accomplish a lot after atonement. So we have to key in this period to reflect and as well to heal ourselves, to re-energize, and as well to remain formidable. We have leadership. We must continue to be obedient, and as well as individuals decide to do the needful whenever we are called upon. What we are doing is no one can do it for us. We must remain steadfast, focused, and continue to encourage our homeland Biafrans to remain focused, to remain strong. This period of atonement, that's when we renew our strength, go to your respective places of worship, participate, and continue to ask Biafra, who have sent us to do this, to continue to sustain us, and as well be with our Onyendu where he is. May his divine presence continue to be with him, and as well sustain his family. I want to say for all of us, we shall be well, we shall overcome, and Biafra we must have.
Just before I sign off, I'd like to just recap with the first sentence in the first paragraph and the first sentence in the last paragraph of IPOB Oath of Allegiance, where it says, I, you put in your names, hereby solemnly and voluntarily swear to be absolutely loyal. I stop it there. The last paragraph, first sentence says, if I go against any of these things, and you've already sworn to, may Chukwuka strike me dead. It is not a child's play. This is the kind of oath I will prescribe for any serious nation, community, family that is really seeking for restitution, restoration, revival. Where people will live up to their words, live up to their promises, embrace accountability and responsibility to the letter, anchor everything they think and do on truth and justice, equity and fairness. we shall prevail. Thank you very much, my panelists, for tonight. Thank you very much, our wonderful anchor, Mazi Chukwemeka Alozie. And thank you, all you IPOB United Kingdom family members. Don't forget our general meeting on Good Friday. And also, next Sunday we'll return to this program with another very interesting edition, a special Easter episode of the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra, with our special guest for Easter, wife of our leader, and IPOB First Lady, Lolo Uchecho Fukano, will be speaking to us again on redemption for restoration and salvation, resurrecting consciousness. This Easter period, which is a period of redemption, restoration and salvation, is very, very instructive that we resurrect or reawaken our consciousness. Join Lolo at my humble self next Sunday, Easter Sunday, for this special Easter episode of the UK Time Out on Radio Biafra. Until then, from me, from here, is good night, happy Easter in advance. Have a very wonderful Holy Week ahead of you.
Thank you very much. See you next week.
Thank you. See you next week. God bless.